Hi everyone, I'm Riley from Echidna Sewing. Welcome back, and in this video I'm going to show you how you can repurpose some old ties into a journal cover. These journal covers are a great way to repurpose your partner's or dad's old ties. Alternatively, you could grab some from your local op shop. Now, depending on the size of your journal, you'll need about 3 to 4 ties. Mine is an A5 size, so about 3 ties will be perfect for me. You can choose whatever colors you like. I chose these 3 here because those are the ties that I had on hand. And at the end, I'm going to have some scraps left over, so make sure you watch our other repurposing video to see how I turn the scraps into these patchwork coasters. Now, the machines I'm using in this video are the NV50S and the Juki MO114D. Here is everything else that you're going to need for this project, but you can check out the full list down below. Now let's get into it. Start by laying your journal flat and measuring the length and width. I do have a pen and paper with me to write these measurements down so you can follow along with my calculations. The length of my journal is 12.25 inches wide and 8.5 inches long. So I'm going to write 12.25 wide and 8.5 long. Then you're going to add 1 inch to the width and the length for seam allowance, making 13.25 and 9.5. Now these new measurements here will be for your lining. Now you're going to take these measurements and add 5 inches onto the width, making 18.25, and you're going to leave the length the same, 9.5, which makes my second measurement 18.25 inches by 9.5 inches. And you're going to use this measurement to cut out your piece from the fabric you're going to create from the ties. Set your measurements aside for now, and we're going to deconstruct the ties. You can use a seam ripper to remove the tag and seam rip the entire middle open. I'm actually only going to seam rip up to about halfway because that's all of the fabric that I'm going to need for my specific journal. If you're going to need more fabric, you can seam rip all the way up. Open it up and you want to remove this lining, and we're going to take off this piece as well, just with your scissors. And now you want to press all of that flat with your iron. Just be careful when you're ironing your tie. If your tie is made out of fabric like satin or silk, you'll want to use a lower temperature so you don't melt the fabric. Alright, and then repeat that for your other ties. Now I'm going to cut a rectangle from my interfacing that's going to fit the length and the width of the tie pieces. Each tie may be a little different, so make sure you adjust accordingly. Then iron the interfacing onto the wrong side of each of your ties. So there are my 3 ties, each with the interfacing on the back. And now I'm going to cut out 9 rectangles total between my 3 ties that are 9.5 inches long and 2.5 inches wide. If you have a bigger journal, you want to cut about 3 to 6 more rectangles out and make sure you adjust the length accordingly. But basically you want each rectangle to be 2.5 inches wide. You can always cut the patchwork piece down to size after you've sewn all the pieces together if need be. Go ahead and cut out all of your rectangles required. You can do this with your ruler and a rotary cutter. Now you should have a total of 9 rectangles, so go ahead and arrange them in any order you like. I've already gone ahead and done that, and from here we can start stitching. Start by taking your first 2 pieces and align them right sides together, pinning or clipping them to secure them. Then you're going to sew them together along the long edge with a 1/4 inch seam allowance and a straight stitch. And make sure you press the seams open before you start attaching the next piece. Now you can repeat that until all of your rectangles have been sewn and pressed. If once you've sewn all your rectangles together, your piece is bigger than the measurement we took earlier, you'll want to trim it down to size. You can see here that mine is just over 18.5 inches, so I'm going to trim it down about a 1/4 inch. With your patchwork piece right side up, grab your ruler and a friction pen and mark a 1/2 inch line down both of the short sides. Like so. And then flip your piece over to the wrong side and you're going to fold these short edges over until you reach that line and press it flat with your iron. Once you've done that, you want to top stitch both of those folds as close to that open edge as possible, so not the folded edge. I am just going to clip these together just to hold them in place while I sew them down. Now again, with the wrong side up, we're going to take our ruler and our friction pen and mark 2.25 inches from both of the sides. Alright, then flip that right side up, and then with your iron, fold over that short edge until you get to the line, and then press it flat with your iron. Again on the other side, and you've just created the flaps that the ends of your book will tuck into. You can set that aside for now, and we're just going to cut out the lining fabric. Make sure you grab the measurements that you made before, 13.25 by 9.25, and you only need to cut out one piece. Once you've cut out your lining piece, you'll need to overlock the 2 short edges. Now you want your lining to be slightly smaller than your main piece so it sits nice and flat. So I'm only going to trim a little bit off of one side whilst overlocking. If you trim off of both sides, your piece will then be too small. Now you can do this with a sewing machine. If you don't have an overlocker, just use a zigzag stitch or an overlocking stitch and just trim about 1/8 of an inch off of one side with scissors before you do so. Once you've overlocked your lining edges, you want to put your lining and your patchwork piece right sides together. And if at this step your lining is just a tad too big than your patchwork piece, you can just go ahead and trim it down just a tiny bit more. There we go, that's much better. And just pin or clip the top and the bottom edges to secure. Alright, and now you're going to stitch across the top and the bottom edges with a 1/4 inch seam allowance and a straight stitch. We are then going to overlock the edges afterwards, so if you're comfortable with using an overlocker without stitching first, you can go ahead and do that. Now you can turn your journal right side out. And then these flaps will just tuck over. And then you can press it flat with your iron. Once you've ironed it flat, you can grab your journal and insert the ends into the flaps. You might need to bend your book backwards a little bit for this one. And there is your finished repurposed tie journal. Now it's more than likely that you have a bunch of scraps left over from creating this, so don't forget to check out our other video to see how I turned these scraps into these patchwork coasters. And if you're interested in any of the products that we use in this video, feel free to check out our website for more information. And don't forget to tag us on Instagram so we can see your creations too. Thanks for watching, happy sewing!